Go. The legend of Tyrese Halliburton continues, but the Pacers fall short in game 2. I personally thought the Thunder would win game 1 and Pacers would take game 2, but needless to say, they got the 1-1 split going back into Indiana. They won't play until Wednesday night. So, guys, how are we feeling after the first 2 games in Oklahoma City?
Dre, go ahead. I'll let you start, buddy.
Okay. Personally, man, I feel really good about the series. I like it as a fan. I still stick by my prediction. I would like to rather stick it strong down, say Thunder in 6. What I do appreciate about the Oklahoma City Thunder, Doris Burke put out a really good stat the other night. They have lost less than 5 games on a back-to-back. Like, they don't lose back-to-back games very often. They only did it a handful of times this season, which I think is tremendous. That showed in some of the adjustments and substitutions. They stuck with the same starting lineup, which was criticized from – actually, it was changed going into the finals. And it was criticized because of the results of game 1. Like you said, the legend of Tyrese Halliburton just continues. I think the legend of the Indiana Pacers continues. A really, really great game by Indiana. A really, really great game by Oklahoma City in the first game. The same thing again in Oklahoma City. The fans, they're the home crowd. Really, really plays well into that. But, yeah, I mean, I really, really like the direction of the series right now. If anybody's telling you that small market basketball isn't good, they're liars.
Oh, they're wrong. They're dead wrong.
But when you got the talent that both these teams have, they got good talent. It doesn't matter what market they play in. Like
not only is the talent there, but I mean, this is what Indiana needed to do. I'm sticking with my prediction too. I'm saying Indy in 7, but similar stat to what the Thunder have, where the Thunder have lost less than 5 games in a row, like that twice in a row in 5 games. Like Indy's the same way. They haven't lost a back-to-back game since January.
Yeah.
And I think they're proven to be scrappy against the best team. And think about game 1. The Thunder led the entire game except for 0.3 seconds of the game.
And go ahead.
And Indy kept it close, like super close. They were right there. And at first, the first quarter was going to be a blowout. And then Indy fought back, and the Pacers fought back, and now look what happened. And then game two, SGA just.
While you highlighting that point, I want to point out that a 15-point lead in the NBA is not as the same
anymore. Yeah, it's not.
Well, when you have these two teams in the finals, it's definitely not the same. And I think Tyrese Halliburton proved that right. It's not the same.
And on top of that, I know OKC was struggling, but like I put out the other day, in the group, 19 turnovers in the first half and only being down by 12. That is a miracle. That's like turning the ball over in the first half in football 5 times and you're only down by a touchdown.
Yeah.
So it's just like, within and of itself is just like, because this turning the ball over almost 20 times, you're supposed to be at least down by 20 to 25 going into the half.
With your all-star player scoring 38 points in the first game. You know what I'm saying? With SGA scoring 38 points in the first game, which is 3rd all time in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
He's playing lights out, but at the same time, you have Indiana who's just fighting, and they're fighters and they're scrappy.
It's the irresistible force versus the immovable object. That's pretty much what's going on, because you guys highlight that basically none of these teams lose back-to-backs, and now we're going on a situation to where, it won't be a back-to-back loss for OKC if they lose game 3, but it'll be back-to-back for Indy. But Indy crowd, like OKC's crowd, they can get loud in their arena as well. It might not be to the fact of OKC, but Indy can get loud.
That's what Indiana needed to do. They needed to steal one in OKC.
Yeah.
They needed to split that series. And if they split the series going into Indiana.
Yeah. They get a better chance. And I wanted to point out, too, you just made a really good point about SGA, who so far through 2 games in the finals is averaging well over 30 points. I want to talk about somebody that is not doing very well. Somebody that I pointed out to somebody I was watching the game with yesterday. Not that necessarily, and I'm going to say this in a very complex way and refresh on both sides. Not to say that the Thunder have stopped Tyrese Halliburton in any way. They have stifled him. They have slowed him down. Between the first and second game, he shot a little bit right at 50%, only getting 17 in both games. I'm still looking. So the reason I say that's complex is because now I'm looking for a 30-point game out of him between game 3 and game 4. That's going to take it to where you guys believe the series is going to go, to game 7. I'm waiting to see, because I think the Thunder, like I said before in the last series, did a good job adjusting, stifling Julius Randle as well as Anthony Edwards in multiple games. Stifling Tyrese Halliburton and kind of slowing down some of the other role players is going to be important. Their defense is amazing, just overall talent-wise. But now, I want to continue to see how the coaching adjustments now over the next 5 games continue to play into that. Carlisle on one side, again, we really highlighted how well he coaches. And I just literally had the Thunder's coach name right there, but I can't remember.
Mark Daigneault.
Mark Daigneault, great at making adjustments as well with his team. He's made adjustments every series to get them to a better spot.
But to touch on your point about defense, I mean, look at how good Oklahoma City played defense in game 2.
Yeah.
No player on Indiana had more than 20 points.
Yeah.
Not one. I don't even think one reached 20 points.
No. In either game.
And that's the thing. It's like you're holding them to under 20 points. That's good defense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side of it, you still have Tyrese Halliburton. You gotta worry.
You gotta
about.
find a way. Yeah, you still and putting so much emphasis on him is what's allowing the spread to continue. And what that does as well for the Pacers is it helps keep their role players, the key bench players, the guys. And this is what I was talking about with the Knicks series. Playing 1 to 10 at this point in the season and having all those guys hot means that you can interchange all these guys at any point and keep that going. Neesmith, I think one of them is named Nembhard, something like that.
Yeah, Nembhard.
Mathurin, TJ McConnell.
So many guys that they play every night that are more than just Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam, and even to go down to Miles Turner. There are other guys that are playing very, very well for the Pacers, which is why I still think, like I said, I'm looking for the Thunder to put 2 complete games together back to back. If they do so in Indiana, then the series completely changes. If this goes to another 2-2 split, then I agree wholeheartedly with you guys that this very well could go to 7.
Yeah, I foresee it because Indiana has a good home base. They have a good home crowd. They have solid home court advantage at that point. But it is the Oklahoma City Thunder who can really null that. Like they can null a lot of the home crowd by just playing their game. You know what I'm saying? Like they could just play their game. That's all they got to do.
I think one thing the Pacers should need to get out of. I mean, it's nice when you do it. It shows that as I said, battle tested, but get out of that scratching and clawing and then having to dig deep all the time. Like get out in front of a team, like I was doing Cleveland but basically majority of that series. Get out in front of I know OKC is a different beast, but get out in front of them. Build yourself a lead to where you don't have to keep trying to fight back and make it a game. It's not gonna go your way every time, as we seen last night. I mean, that was a great defensive presence by the Thunder last night. So, but any other time,
you're also talking about SGA. You're also talking about SGA, and he's the MVP for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
He's the MVP of the league for a reason.
Another thing I want to see, responding wise from Oklahoma City now, because now we see in 2 straight games that they had very good, comfortable leads in 2 straight games. Even in the fourth quarter of game 1, I think they were up 10 to somewhere in the 10 to 15 range.
15, with like 9.5 minutes left before that comeback.
Yeah. And so what I want to see continue in this series, because I think at some point in every game in this series, the Thunder will have an 8 to 10 point lead. I want to see them finish games. And I think that game 1, just like going back to game 6 against the Nuggets, was the smile game from SGA, where he walked off with a smile like, I won't make that mistake twice. And I think I think that's why I'm so confident in it, because I've seen them make adjustments. I've seen them playing very big games, and both sides are very battle tested. Through 2 games, again, I say, I could very well see this going 7 now, and I very well
Yep.
like two teams that matched up and how they match up. But I'm just intrigued to see how Oklahoma City, top to bottom, bench, starters, stars, how they finish each game if they are able to capture a lead now that they are going on the road. Will they steal the first game in the series? On the flip side, will it go 1-1 the opposite way? It's just a really good thing to see. Now coming up with the next two games, I think by the time we record again, two games may or may not have come and gone.
Yeah. I would say this to whoever takes the next two games basically just put themselves in the driver's seat. But you're in a situation, if it's Indy, like you're gonna need to close that game out in 6 because you don't want to lose game 6 and have to go back to Oklahoma City for
go
game
back
7.
to Oklahoma City. Yeah.
And then I think if Thunder go up 3-1, they would probably just close it out in 5. But there's that. So how they play.
To the point that Dre brought up when we first started this segment, what a great series for NBA basketball. For fans, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
As a fan, you couldn't ask for anything better. It's excitement all the way around. And you saw it happen throughout the series. There have been blowouts, but what happens is teams come back and they come back on their home court and they make it a series. I know they're small market teams, and I know a lot of people don't like to hear it. I'm perfectly fine with the small market team and the small market teams in the playoffs. I'm perfectly fine with them in the finals.
Yeah, because
I think it's great for ratings.
It's not boring at all.
It's not.
No, and the ratings have been up. The ratings, I think, jumped up by 15% or something like that, 15 to 18%.
Which is something we just complained about a couple weeks ago because we talked about all the different barriers that it takes to watch regular season NBA basketball. Right. So especially for them to be at the highest stage and for them not to really, and I wish I could go back now and see how many games prime time that the Pacers had as opposed to the Thunder, which I know they were highly televised this year.
Because
they were highly televised this year.
It was the Thunder.
Yeah. But, the NBA, they pump promotion into their product very well. Product placement is very well. It's a world-renowned game. It's even bigger, in my opinion. I feel like the NBA is bigger overseas than it is actually here.
It's gotten a whole lot bigger and a whole lot better too overseas.
Yeah, and so I'm not really with all the different streaming platforms and the different ways to watch basketball now, as opposed to having to physically sit in front of a TV. Every year, I anticipate these numbers are just going to get better and better. But I think in this series, to have the MVP, to have the Heartbreak Kid matched up in a series of two small market teams with really, really big name players on both sides, this is what good series are made of.
Absolutely, and I do want to say this before we continue on or move on to the next segment. I do want to say this. To Ernie, Kenny, Chuck, and Shaq, thank you guys very much for ESPN or for TNT.
Yeah,
and I know they're moving to ESPN now, but thank you so much for what you've done for us as fans.
Just ruining my childhood, one day at a time. Lost SEC on CBS, NBA inside the NBA on TNT. Like Jesus Christ! But as far as I'm gonna take it back, that's all it is. I'm gonna take it back until we talked about the promotion of the. I think we're losing somebody again. Take it back to the promotion. OKC, I would say OKC's they're both small markets, but OKC's market is a little bit more easier to promote because you coming out of. You had KD, you had Russ. So when you had those guys won MVP for the organization, SGA just won the MVP. So when it comes to promoting a small market team, that it seems like that, it used to be San Antonio, but San Antonio kind of lost its luster over the years. But now OKC, even when San Antonio still had the luster, but you still had the young KD, young Russ, and now we got SGA. So when it comes to the markability, I think OKC was probably always going to be there when it comes to promoting the small market, especially what they do on the court and off the court in the front office, how they make those moves. So they were always going to kind of be a mainstay, except for aside from a couple rebuild years. A team like Indy, they really haven't had any. Now this is their chance to kind of be amongst, get that basically that free publicity now, especially with like I said, the legend of Halliburton and what he's continued to do this postseason. And see, like every round in the postseason, he's yanked the hearts out of many fans. So, but I just wanted to put that out there.
You got to go a little further than that too, as far as the marketing goes. I mean, you look at Oklahoma City; they don't have a pro team to market. They don't have a pro team that's taken away from the shine.
They don't.
You know what I'm saying? And Indy has the Colts, and Indy also has the Indianapolis 500. That goes on there every year, and they have a lot of marketing for other sports that they consider are bigger, right? And or that fans consider are bigger, I should say.
Caitlin Clark, we all know
and
the beast.
Caitlin Clark now.
I was going to say that's just a stroke of luck, though. Yeah, that's a stroke of luck and good drafting that just catapulted that team.
You're still seeing that's what Cincy's fighting. Where Oklahoma City, their closest pro team is the
Dallas
Cowboys.
Mavericks, that too,
and the Mavericks. You know what I'm saying?
Well, as far as football, I'll say because they got a basketball team. So, but as far as football,
But then before you had the Oklahoma City Thunder, what'd you have? The Sooners. That was it.
Yeah, Boomer baby, and the Hornets at the time they played up there, and that's what brought up the idea to bring basketball to.
That's exactly what.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but still, I mean that's what you had going on, So. I think it's easier to market a team that has nothing else competing with them as opposed to Indiana that has.
But I get what you're saying, but it's just like the NBA is the NBA and the NFL is the NFL. The NFL is going to promote the Colts, especially when you got Peyton Manning, and then you transition from Peyton Manning into an Andrew Luck, who, could have been. Pat Mahomes may have one or two less Super Bowls, give or take, maybe, and then like. The Pacers were coming up. Paul George coming up before Paul George could have been that guy, but that leg injury kind of set him back.
Yep. In the 15 years that I think the Thunder, maybe around 15, maybe
almost 20 now.
In the 20 years of Oklahoma City Thunder history, and I want to kind of rehash the history. They get boosted into the spotlight because they become the NBA's golden child's main villain. All right. The year prior, the Thunder were on the uphill climb in 2010, but in 2011, when they became LeBron's villain and they became what was deemed to be a beginning blossoming dynasty off that finals, that's when Oklahoma City's stardom really catapulted. Like Anthony said, you got an MVP in KD. You get an MVP out of Russ somewhere in that 8-year run. All right. So that takes us from about 2010 to 2018. All right. I think somewhere in between 2019 and 2020 is when Russ and PG end up there. And then the infamous Paul George trade that also leads to Russell Westbrook eventually.
The trade that built this finals.
In the last 20 years, only 3 of those years has Oklahoma City, not maybe a couple, 3 or 4 right before, maybe a total of 6 or 7 years that out of 20 years, they've had 14 or 15 years of NBA relevance because of great stars. Now, these last 2 years, making a great trade and having good NBA fan minds wondering, how does this play out? We talked about this trade 3 years ago and how, wow, these are going to have some really great ramifications. We just saw a similar trade 10 years prior, and I like to talk about history repeats itself.
Brooklyn.
We had the same trade with Brooklyn and Boston. Brooklyn kind of botched that. Boston ended up actually not botching that trade, doing very well with that trade. Jalen Brown,
Jason Tatum. Philly swapped with Jason Tatum to take Markel Fultz, and then
And so now with the even bigger package trade. I mean, it's going to be another good 10 or 15 years of Oklahoma City stardom. The only thing small about their market is the city that they're in.
Yeah,
That's the
but
only thing small.
see, now I brought up the NFL marketing and all that stuff is because, and the reason I bring up the other sports is because it's easy to market your superstars in Oklahoma City to the fans there, which makes superstars want to go to an area like that because the fans only have one team to support and they love them.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
superstars want to go there because there's only one team there and the fans
Are
crazy
bananas about them. Yeah.
So of course, any superstar who sits there is like, A, they're good, they win, and not only that, but they have a fan base that's absolutely in love with the team. I don't know of any athlete that would be like, oh, I know the fans hate the team, so but I want to play there anyways because I think we can win.
Yeah.
I think when you were talking about like the Colts, they marketed Peyton Manning, and they marketed Andrew Luck. And then they market the Indianapolis 500 5 months before the 500 starts, and they're marketing the racers. But Tyrese Halliburton, who's loved in the city, but still he's not on the mainstream media.
Yeah, he's not on the.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I brought up Paul George. He's reached further heights than Paul George. I mean, well, Paul George had
1,000,000%.
Paul George had the guy that had a stranglehold on the East for so long, and LeBron. Then he left and went out west. So there's and then like I said, the leg injury kind of set them back, and then. And y'all brought up that trade, but I think Brooklyn tried to cash in on guys well past their prime versus at least the Clippers went to a guy in the middle of his prime, but still you gave up a boatload of picks. We're not going to dispute that, but you trading guys in their late 30s instead of like Brooklyn could have Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, if they went about it the right way. And then they probably would have messed that up. Yeah, they would have. Like the whole debate, should we split Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown up? Brooklyn definitely would have done it. But when you got an organization that knows what they're doing, like a Boston, like no, we're not gonna split it up. We're just gonna get better around them. And like with OKC, but they don't split nobody up. They just add people or they acquire picks and draft and develop. And that's like when we brought up that one time, all the other small market teams that are trying to get to where they're at, it takes steps, obviously. Like you would say, even the Pacers, like you would say, like should a Detroit Pistons try this model, to make themselves? They made the playoffs, but what if we want to, we want to be the team that have home court in the playoffs. Like we want to be the 2 seed or a 1 seed. Charlotte Hornets, I brought up the Charlotte Hornets, like we want to take the baby steps of being like Detroit. We want to get to playoff / play-in spot, work our way to the playoffs, and then go from there. And then the next season we start blossoming too. But Charlotte is, I don't know what it is, but Charlotte is just a different beast. And then because the model franchise beforehand was San Antonio, we got our superstar player playing for well below what he should be getting paid. We get all these international players. We play a system like nobody really like. They're gonna have guys that probably have a games that score like 25, 30 points. But as far as the averages go, Tim Duncan never was not a 20-point per game score.
No, he was.
They just played a great system.
He was in a good system,
so
and
that's
he had a good coach.
So that's what I said. So San Antonio gave us the blueprint. The 5 championships in the 15 years. They never went back to back. I mean, but they were in a league when you still had Kobe, Shaq. A
lot of top stars.
But they still made it.
When you talk about a team like San Antonio and you talk about what's going on now in the league, we have to remember any pro league is a copycat league. It's literally monkey see, monkey do. If you're successful, I'm going to try to do the same thing you're doing, because that leads to success. Why do you think people started shooting all these threes? Why do you think the NBA went to a 3-point team? It's because Golden State got a shooter that's a natural shooter and can shoot from the arc and beyond.
Some of the best, the best, and one of the best shooters in Steph and Klay. Yeah.
In one season, they had Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and all they were doing was shooting threes.
Just yeah.
And
Klay getting 60 off 5 dribbles and all that, 37 and a quarter and all that good stuff. Yeah.
And then what happened? Every other team started doing
Houston.
the same thing.
Houston really tried to supersede. They really just built that. They built their teams specifically for Golden State.
Then we just saw it 2 weeks ago with Boston shooting over 73s in a game.
They shot 100 threes. They shot 100 threes in the first 2 games. And only made 25% of them.
Yeah, they only made 15% the first game and 10% the next.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're looking at it's a copycat league, and pretty soon you're going to start seeing the same thing happen. It's just going to keep on trickling in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Maybe even some of the I'm gonna say smaller market. I mean, maybe even some of the big market teams, the teams that gonna get pushed the most, that have all the, they have bigger checkbooks, can possibly.
New York started doing it against the Pacers. Brunson was shooting threes like crazy. So you're going to start seeing teams build off of that because that's the way the model is.
No, I wouldn't even talk about like as far as your gameplay. I'm talking about roster construction. I mean, I guess that ties into game. I mean, I guess that ties into gameplay, but I'm speaking as far as like how are we going to construct a roster? Like,
roster.
I mean, like I said, everybody's not going to be able to have 100 million draft picks like OKC. You know what I'm saying? It could kind of sit on them, and then you got this team draft pick. If this team does bad, guess what? We hold that pick. Like, they might not fall to a situation to where, like, how the Lakers won a championship and they get the number 1 overall pick in James Worthy. This is pre-lottery days too, though. So that is a reason why the lottery exists now, because, like, how do we win a championship and we get the best player available in the draft, number 1 overall, and then he goes on to have a Hall of Fame career and maybe is a top 10 Laker of all time. But so they're not gonna get that lucky. And if they were to get that lucky, coming off a championship and then landed into a number 1 pick, then hey, you're gonna. As much as we need to see changes with the lottery anyway, especially what just went down, you trade Luka and then all of a sudden you have less than a 1% chance to get the number 1 pick, and you get the number 1 pick. Come on.
I mean,
put the tinfoil hat on. Put the tinfoil hat on. It's very sketchy.
We've seen it play out. I mean, if you want me to put the tinfoil hat on, for sure, here we go. Because we saw it play out in Chicago when Derrick Rose. We saw it play out in Cleveland with LeBron. And we're watching it play out. Patrick Ewing in New York. Even LeBron went on the Pat McAfee show and even stated, like, when I was coming out and I saw Cleveland was, hosting the draft, I knew the assignment. He knew it was going to happen. Cleveland got the number 1 lottery pick. I knew the assignment. And he understood. It's just one of those things. And now you see what's going on. You trade Luka away, which was your best player. Cooper Flag is going to be a Dallas Maverick. Guess what the marketing is going to be like for that?
And don't get comfortable, Cooper Flag, because that ownership.
Nico Harrison will trade.
It's not even Nico. It's not even Nico. This ownership is still looking for a new arena because, like, not even trade wise, they still looking for a new arena, and they can relocate if the city don't want to give them. The NBA they don't want to give, and the city don't want to pay for it. I mean, I could kind of see why the city wouldn't want to pay for it because, like, look at what y'all just did. So I can kind of understand that. But if they don't want to pay for it, then, hey, guess what? Yeah. So pay attention to that. You might not be in Dallas. Don't get comfortable in Dallas, Cooper Flag, is all I'm saying. And as far as the NBA, promotion of the market, like I said, I jumped the gun last week when I talked about this has been a great playoffs. The finals is not over, but like overall, this has still been a great playoffs. I've liked every round. His matches have been intriguing. I guess you could say probably the conference finals is probably the round that was least like, Pacers could have closed out in 5. They closed out in their home floor. We've seen what OKC did to Minnesota, stopping their 2 best players. But like I said, overall, this has been a fantastic playoffs. But I want to talk about another sport that has also been fantastic in the postseason. NHL in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and now we're on to the Stanley Cup finals. Game 2,
get to it.
Double overtime. Brad Marchand, Connor McJesus, Florida Panthers in 6, by the way.
Were we ahead of the series when last time we recorded? I think we were right before the series. The series didn't even start yet. The game was about to come on when we were recording, as it will happen again today.
I think Oilers went up. Panthers took a big lead. Panthers blew the lead. Oilers win first overtime. Game 2. Double overtime
thriller.
Panthers take it
Friday night.
So a split. So now we see a 1-1 split in Stanley Cup and NBA finals. But how are we feeling about Florida Panthers going back home?
I will say statistically, by the way, before we move on to how the series is going, statistically, this is the first time that there have been 2 overtime games in the Stanley Cup finals since 2014.
Mm.
So
can you interest who was in that Stanley Cup finals?
I can look that one up.
In the
I'm not
meantime,
100% sure.
yeah. In the meantime, I'll say, since I usually don't have much to say on NHL, caught a little bit of the first game immediately after we recorded. Again, once the Panthers went up, I kind of whittled away from the game because I
You
don't
thought it was
really,
over? Yeah.
yeah, I'm not necessarily just a avid watcher. I do like Connor McDavid. I know he is the best. I know that's kind of bandwagoning. I don't care. But
He's so good at hockey, though. He's
really
so good.
and so let me talk about one play that did stick out to me in particular. In game two, in overtime, in the first period of overtime, Connor McDavid was given a breakaway, and the way that the Oiler fans showed up, and you would have thought like the game was over for sure. I think he got pushed to the outside. He wasn't able to get a good shot off, but a good set of games so far. 2 games down, and a really, really good spot for both teams. I'm a little more intrigued now, and I know the game's about to come on, but I'm hoping same thing will happen with this series, like the finals. I'm hoping after these next 2 games they go to a 2-2 split. Hopefully, Connor McDavid will have a chance to capture that elusive Stanley Cup. But if not, that dynasty that's brewing down there in Florida, where there's no ice almost ever. um, but that dynasty is brewing down there, and they're doing very well on the ice. So that's all that matters right now.
And that's the thing. You're looking at it, and I think Florida's playing. They built their team pretty well with Brad Marchand, Bobrovsky. You have Kachuk. I mean, they're just pests. They're just sitting there. They're making it greasy. They're playing physical, and I think when you play physical hockey, and you match up against a team that's not as physical, like the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals, you're going to steamroll them.
Go push
But
them
then
around.
then you have the Oilers, who have the best player in hockey in Connor McDavid. And he has a supporting cast consisting of Leon Draisaitl, who's also amazing. And the speed of Connor McDavid. I mean, he's so fast. He is so fast on skates. And he is so good. It makes it a tough series. I still think Florida wins it. And I think
Panthers in
this is
6,
going to go
baby.
to 7. I think it's going to go to 7.
I think the way it's been playing out, you think it's going to 7?
It's been playing out.
I'm gonna still stick to Panthers in 6. I'm gonna tune in. I know the last game I watched personally was I wanted to see Ovi break that record, and I got to see that live. So, and that was a thing of beauty. The game was played so fast. I was like, oh man, this is actually pretty unique. When you actually sit and watch it. And then I had a purpose to watch it, and now this is an even bigger purpose because this is your championship round. So like, it doesn't get any better than
marbles.
that. Yeah, so it makes it even better. But I'm gonna take it back to what we started with. But we kind of lost. We lost track.
I got the 2 teams, by the way. The 2 teams that we were talking about since 2014 was the Pittsburgh Penguins and the San Jose Sharks.
Should have known.
Back in 2014.
Should have known it was Sid the Kid and Malkin at the time.
By the way, this is the 6th time in NHL history that it's happened. So
NHL has been around since what, like 1900 something, maybe a little bit sooner.
Early 1900s.
Earlier than that, I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, beautiful.
So,
go Panthers. Aaron Rodgers, folks, finally made his deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a 1-year deal, $13 million. Could go up to almost 20 with $19 million. Yeah, we kind of, we had to scrap some things. Originally, we let off with that, but now we're going to close out with it. How are we feeling about Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh?
I mean, he's a washed-up quarterback at this point. He should have retired and just rode off into the sunset. He's got a Hall of Fame career. He's done everything he can. I can respect the fact that he wants to be competitive. I understand it. I respect it. I think it's admirable. But at the same time, you
got to know when it's time.
You don't you want to go out on your own terms? We're not talking about Tom Brady, who played till 42, and but his last season he knew he was done anyways.
45,
yeah. So you gotta. To me, I think it's just time. Aaron Rodgers, you've been great. You came off an Achilles. You got a very subpar team to look good at points during the season last season, but your time is essentially
they fizzled out late.
Yeah.
My thing is, we all know where he wanted to go, but it's only one team that would take him. Like Minnesota was for the calling, the roster was there, but it's just like we got our guy for the future.
Wasn't going to take him.
Yeah, we're going to maximize what we got in JJ McCarthy while he's still on this cheap deal, and see what we can do. And Aaron Rodgers, you set the timeline back for that. So like, Pittsburgh is the only team that will take him. And like I said before, the technical difficulties, it doesn't move the needle for them. Like,
at all.
Nobody's gonna. I'm like, this might be the only division where I feel like a clear cut winner may come from. Like Baltimore is gonna win the North, AFC North, that is. Like Pittsburgh, like everybody else is a battle for second. Pittsburgh did, they finished 10-7 last season or whatever they finished, but it's just like, do they go from 10-7 to 12-5? No, I don't think so. Not with this. And then like you trade your other young receiver potentially to prevent from having to pay him if he had a productive season or even franchise tagging him. So, and then like, we still don't know what y'all want to do with TJ Watt, stuff like that. Then it's reports of Jonnu Smith maybe joining. So it's just like, and you know how Aaron Rodgers is. Aaron Rodgers does at least want one guy that he's familiar with to come play along with him. We've seen it. Alan Lazard, not going to be Devontae Adams, but maybe Alan Lazard or something of that nature. But
and I will say something. This. I will say something that one of the things that I kind of wish Aaron Rodgers would do is like, and Dre, don't hang up when I say this. At least Derek Carr was respectable when he sat there and said, "You know what? I'm
just gonna go home.
I'm not gonna take your money and go home. I'm just gonna go home. I'm gonna
go
save
home.
You the money. You can keep the money. You don't have to pay me. I'm going to retire because I want you to build a franchise." To me, that was, as much as I hate seeing Derek Carr retire because of an injury like that, I still think that was a classy move.
Now
he
that
wasn't trying to take money.
I must say this, even though that's not the name of the show. The name of the show is Let Me Say This. But let me say this, in the words of Denzel Washington on that regard, I'm leaving here with something. I ain't got to get the whole pie, but hey, man, just cut me a piece, wrap it up, and I'll take it. Like, you don't have to take the full, whatever is reported 30, but
right.
Nice little $5 to $10 million retirement gift. That wouldn't have been, hey, man, look, I ain't gonna let y'all save all y'all money. I'm gonna take a piece of it with me out the door, but it's still a respectable move. But at the same time, DC, you put your life on the line for this organization. You risked your health, man. You need to. I know you made your money and all that, but still, man, like, I know and I understand what you're trying to do, but like, hey, man, the Saints, the Saints is a classy organization. They wouldn't have mind you taking like.
He walked away with $10 million.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was about to say they wouldn't have mind him. Yeah, like something like
he got some money.
Yeah,
he didn't just leave with nothing.
He got paid,
but he left.
He got
paid. He didn't leave us with the contract that he.
The contract
he
walked out classy because he didn't sit there and go, "I want to leave you bankrupt with nothing." He walked out.
And I thought about this earlier today too. My bad. I feel like I think the Saints are still paying for their sins of Bounty Gate. Honestly, I think the football guys are not done with them as far as it goes from that Bounty Gate. And this is one of the situations. And this cap situation is just this is just the situation. Like, hey, it might not be. I mean, I guess you could say football related on the field wise, but monetarily wise, off the field in the books, hey man, we not done with y'all yet. Y'all guys still got to pay.
I know
for what y'all did.
I know this is way off topic.
Yeah,
it's on my team, but I do see a little bit of the light at the end of the tunnel. We got some money back from Derek Carr. We got 4 guys that are aging, and 4 of them are on aging contracts as well, and 4 of them very likely will be off my team next year. That in the names of Demario Davis, Cameron Jordan, Tyrann Mathieu, and Taysom Hill, all looking to be north of $50 million combined in cap space, that in a year's time is very likely not to be there.
Straight up that space for Arch, baby.
The Saints,
they're
who
getting
have
on the right track.
Yeah, I was about to say the Saints, who have hung on to draft collateral very well, going back to the Tyler Shuck draft pick, will it eventually be our Chase Daniel, and by that I mean a career-long backup. Um, by the time
Who
that
started with the Saints actually. Chase
who's
Daniel, that is.
and that's exactly why I said Chase Daniel, our career backup. He moved from one team to another team to be a career backup. I know this is off topic and not at all about Aaron Rodgers, who anyway. But
Yeah.
the sins of the Bounty Gate are almost paid off completely in blood and bones and tears. From the 2016
And the referees made sure in that NFC Championship game to let y'all know,
yeah,
like,
the
hey, yeah, we still not done with y'all.
2016 NFC 17 NFC
18,
Championship, whatever year it was, but
we know.
yeah, so I'm very enthused that our sins as far as that are almost paid off. Aaron Rodgers, a quick pit stop on the way out, which I think, like I said previously, I think this will be his last year playing in the National Football League. We appreciate you, 4-time MVP, two-time Super Bowl champion,
Future Hall of Famer. Future
Hall of Famer. And I was saying, yeah, pit stop.
I just picked it up.
Pun intended.
I just picked that one up. I just picked it up.
As I said in the previous recording, I don't think this is this was not an unplanned move. This is obviously something that the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers knew about a couple months ago. I said in the previous recording, I don't believe that the Steelers, when they made that agreement, they didn't allow Aaron Rodgers to go through any of the shenanigans of publicizing and making a public statement or allusion to going on to some retreat to figure out what he wants to do with his life or where he wants to go next. They told him, go, come back, come sign a paper, and let's get to work.
Whatever the darkness tells you to do, that's what you need to do.
And also exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers want, to continue to rely on their defense, that and TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, who's very likely on his way out as well. So that'll free up some money for them to go out and grab another quarterback. That'll give them a year's time to stay even at 500. So that way the organization as a whole, Mike Tomlin as a coach, will stay above 500 for his career. It's a lateral move into the same direction.
I think they want to drop below 500 so they get a better draft pick.
That can finally start creeping into like
they want
top 10 of draft picks.
I only see one way, maybe two ways at best that happens, and it may be that I should just say that I only see one way that happens. That's if Aaron Rodgers and TJ Watt both tear their Achilles. That's the only way I see them attempting to go under 500. But as far as a natural act, I just don't think the Pittsburgh organization has it.
Even that culture won't even allow.
I don't think they'd allow.
9-8, I know or just their luck. 8-1 since it's 17 games, which is still not at 500.
They may want better draft picks, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think, and I don't want to jump the gun. I want you to re-ask the question so the viewers re-ask your second part to that question about an influence to that signing and what that signing could have possibly prevented. I want you to ask the question before I give that answer.
Oh, the George Pickens trade. Did they trade George Pickens so they can open up money for TJ Watt to prevent having to pay him if he had a productive season, or potentially even a franchise tag? But we know the number for franchise tag is pretty much the market, and it seems the market for wide receiver twos now, the market is $30 million now for a wide receiver two now, thanks to Higgins. So
and an edge one is $51 million.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to bring that up and talk about that is because we were talking about at the end of the recording of the first time. George Pickens is a second-round pick, and he is in his fourth year, which means this is very likely, pun intended, just a pit stop for him as well in Dallas. Just a chance for Dallas to try to put themselves over the hump, see if they can't come out as champions this year, which is something, even as a Saints fan, I really would like to see. But
shout out to the NO.
this is just one of those things where I think, George Pickens' trade was always written in the stars. Raphael, on the previous recording, you alluded to some of the childish antics on and off the field that George Pickens has gone through, airing out multiple quarterbacks about, his targets, not getting receptions, things like that. Great talent. I think they are more than happy to swap him for an equal, maybe a little slightly margin better talent, more developed talent in DK Metcalf to go along with Aaron Rodgers, who's very savvy, is a veteran, so he'll know exactly how to and where to get DK that ball. So,
but I'll say this: could George Pickens? It's Jerry Jones I'm talking about, but could George Pickens play him way into a contract during the season? Could Jerry Jones finally be proactive and be like, "Hey,
Nope.
I'm gonna pay you at this market before the market jumps up, before wide receiver twos start getting 33 and 34 million." I know it's not gonna happen because it's Jerry Jones, but
it's Jerry Jones.
But that would be because if George Pickens was in a Philadelphia Eagle uniform, he definitely would have got, "Hey, look, we're gonna pay you 3 years,
hello viewers,
70 million."
Hello viewers.
Like
Today is June 9th, 2025. Today, we wholeheartedly agree that George Pickens will not get a contract.
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
middle of this season.
Absolutely. Listen,
If this happens, I cannot wait to be on a clip with some
for
sad
real.
music behind me.
Hey, Jerry Jones wouldn't even sign CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, he waited
middle of-
almost
in the
2
middle of the
weeks
season.
before 2 weeks before the season started. Dak 3 hours before the game. So yeah, but hey man,
I'm just saying.
But
I don't see it happening with Jerry Jones.
But what I just named, CD 2 weeks before the season, Dak 3 hours before the first game. So why couldn't George Pickens mid-season? Breaking news: Dallas Cowboys agree with George Pickens, a 3-year deal.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to be on a clip.
You know what I'm saying?
I cannot wait to be on a clip.
You know what I'm saying?
Let me answer you why it won't happen.
I mean, I know why. Everybody knows why, but go ahead.
Because Jerry Jones is a very much a "what have you done for me?"
Yeah,
and George
not
Pickens
lately
just showed up.
at all. Not lately at all.
Period.
Like just period. What have you done for me? Like since you've been here, did you mess up that time that you were hurt for 3 plays during the fourth quarter, and we didn't get a first down? Do you remember that? Because Jerry Jones does.
Jerry Jones remembers for some reason. Jerry Jones just remembers a lot. They don't remember nothing.
Jerry Jones just got George Pickens there, and George Pickens he hasn't done anything yet. Yeah. And you really think he's going to get a contract out of this? No.
Keep it in football and keeping it in the state of Texas. How do we feel about Nick Chubb signing with Houston? He's going to being the guy, RB1 to now basically being a complimentary back to Joe Mixon.
Yeah,
coming off.
I like it.
And I'll tell you why. His way into the league, into the league, rather.
He's back into the league, and it's a 1-2 punch. It's a 1-2 punch for Houston, and Houston needed that because CJ Stroud was getting hammered because the run game was
getting beat up. Yeah,
like the run game wasn't being productive because the offensive line couldn't block. And when Mixon was hurt, who do they have?
Yeah.
So you're gonna see Nick Chubb get some carries.
In that, I want to sing the same old song, the old adage that never gets old. This running back league is not a very long league at all.
It's not. I think Derrick Henry is becoming an anomaly. Derrick Henry is 31 and just signed an extension.
He is.
We saw what Saquon just did, and Saquon is now the cover of Madden. So pay attention to that.
Yeah,
we see what the Madden curse just did to Christian McCaffrey. We see what the Madden which just happened to Christian McCaffrey. He had 2 unknown Achilles on both Achilles for some reason. Like what? Huh? And missed like half the season. Tried to come back and got shut down again.
He only played 1 game.
He tried to play like 2-3 games or whatever, or 2 games. Yeah. And another move, we saw Jair Alexander get released because they couldn't find a trade partner. Jalen Ramsey, on the other hand, they told him don't even worry about showing up because we're trying to find you a partner. I want to ask, do we think Jalen Ramsey is eventually going to get released? Because Jair Alexander, I just looked it up. He's only 28. Jalen Ramsey is 30, going on 31. And we know GM Drism, when a player turns 30, he doesn't want him.
Well, here's the problem with Jalen Ramsey is if they trade him, they got to take on a $30 million contract. And I don't know of any team that's going to take on his $30 million contract unless he restructures a deal.
Go back to the Rams, I guess. I don't know.
I mean,
but honestly,
that's an option, but I don't even think they want him.
Yeah, nah, they got a young core on defense. So
And I don't think they're going to release him because if they release him, they still owe him $20-something million on a cap hit.
yeah. But
So
the thing about that is you can find a team that be like, hey man, can y'all pick up the tab with us a little bit?
I think we have to wait until minicamp starts and then training camp gets started to find out if there's going to be a trade partner for Jalen Ramsey.
Because
right now there's too many question marks.
Yeah. What if these two end up getting paired together? Then that'd be crazy.
I just think it's a game
like,
of now. I think it's a game now of the Dolphins have made it very clear that Jalen Ramsey is available for trade. Jalen Ramsey made it evident that he's available for trade. So now what happens is once you make that star presence available, the stock immediately goes down. But although the Dolphins are in the belief that, hey, maybe they want 2 second-round picks. Maybe that's what they're stuck on. Maybe they're stuck on a first and a second.
But no team's going to give them that.
Because they know that, and especially with today's move with Jair, it just makes it even the plot thicker.
It makes it even easier. Yeah. You might not even be able to get a third now that Jair got released.
Yeah. You're not going to get much for Ramsey. He's either going to be stuck a Dolphin and he'll hold out and not play all year, or there'll be somebody that'll be willing to pay that money.
Or I don't know, because it seems like Baltimore always does sneaky stuff like this. I mean, could see him in a Raven uniform.
Baltimore could. They have the cap space, but it's we got to see what happens with minicamp starting.
I can see him in a Raven uniform, or even players go to Kansas City too. We mainly see receivers like over the hill pretty much go to Kansas City. We don't really see any defensive players, like defensive backs, I'll say. We don't see any defensive backs go to Kansas City. So it's just like
you could see Carolina making a move, trying to get them, maybe paying the money because they have a lot of money left over.
They got J.C. Horn. I don't know who they got opposite of J.C. Horn, but they got J.C. Horn.
That's what I'm saying.
So.
They still have space.
I don't even know who Baltimore has opposite of Marlon Humphrey. You're right, but I don't even know who Baltimore has opposite of Marlon Humphrey. Maybe I know Arizona got some defensive players in the draft, but I don't know like who would they have at cornerback.
I don't know. I don't even know if he wants to go back towards the NFC West. Unless it's the Rams.
And that's another team. Well, no, because 49ers let go a lot of people because they couldn't pay them. But
yeah, they don't have the money. They don't have the space.
Yeah,
they just paid
never mind.
And they just, $50 million.
We didn't even get a chance to react to that, did we? No, we reacted.
Yeah,
we did. Yeah, we're not going. Yeah, I don't want to kind of spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. The episode's not out yet, but but yeah. So those are some of the small moves I've seen that happen. And as far as Jair Alexander, yeah, his market, he's probably going to be on a year. He's probably going to be a Stephon, turn into basically a Stephon Gilmore. Unless he finds a home for like 2 years.
I'll tell you where Ramsey, one place where Ramsey could fit in and they have the cap space is New England.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
With Christian out there, I think he can fit.
But I know they had that cornerback. I think he messed up his ACL during the season. I can't remember, but I think they got 2 young corners.
But still, you can put Ramsey. You can put Ramsey out there.
Jalen Ramsey can go back to where it all started and be opposite of Travis Hunter.
Jacksonville? I don't think Jacksonville has money.
No, they did.
Yeah, they have the cap space.
They paid their quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah, they did. They definitely cut out Cleveland because they just paid. They got one guy already making the quarterback money, and Deshaun Watson, and then they got another guy on the other side basically getting quarterback money.
They got a water boy making quarterback money. Yeah,
so you can just kind of discount Cleveland. So yeah, I guess the quarterback is turning into the new running back now. I guess the market is.
Yeah.
I guess it's just kind of wearing thin. But well, in a situation to where teams really just like their guys, like so. Even with the Aaron Rodgers situation, it's like, bro, it's out of 32 teams, 31 teams don't want you. Like they either have a young guy or they got a veteran that's that's a younger veteran that has more than 1 or 2 years left on him. They at least got 4, 5, or 6 years left on them. So there's that, man. So
that's the way it's going right now.
Yep. In conclusion, Tyler Shook for Rookie of the Year.
Hope so. I hope
Travis
so.
Hunter. It'll be Travis Hunter. It'll be Travis Hunter.
It's a tricky question with Travis Hunter, offensive or defensive.
Actually, it's either gonna be Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. I don't think Cam Ward's gonna be Rookie of the Year prospect. I think
since we're in the age of the running back, I'm gonna go with one of these running backs, and it's not gonna be Ashton Genty.
You going with the boy from Ohio State?
Two of them. Cleveland just drafted two of them.
Judkins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it will be interesting to see though. For sure.
I can see it.
I can't wait.
Yeah, that's but I feel like since we're the age of the running back, that's why I'm just going.
Hey, it's a good pick.
I don't know, but Genty might be more because like Joe Flacco.
It'll be interesting to see what Genty does because in Oakland, I think they're building the team to be a run first.
Yes, and then you got Brock Bowers for the play action pass. Brock Bowers
and it helps Geno Smith, and then you have Pete Carroll there, who's going to help develop a run game.
And speaking of Geno, that is a team that needs to be on the market for a quarterback. Geno is still serviceable, but we don't know. Maybe 2 to 3 years best for Geno.
We got to see what happens with the draft this year. See what happens with how it falls. I think Geno can actually win games for Oakland Raiders or for the
most definitely
for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Most definitely.
And I think the Raiders are better off. They're still not to the par. They're still not to par as far as getting into the playoffs, but I think they're going to be better off with Bowers, Geno Smith, Ashton Genty. I mean, they got and Jacoby Myers.
That Max Crosby's just got his money, so
yeah, Max Crosby got paid. So I think they're in good shape. Personally, I think they're in good shape.
And I like it because we're getting closer and closer to mandatory camps and then training camp, and next thing you know, NFL
boys,
week 1,
2 months away,
and we all know who's playing Thursday night, the first game. I already made my prediction, upset city, baby. But on that note, I'm gonna take us out. Thank y'all for tuning in to another great episode of Let Me Say This. We will be back. Perhaps, I guess we're going to do the NBA Finals on a 2-game basis. So we're just going to react to games 3 and 4 the next time we record versus trying to do this reaction to the one game and then come back and do the reaction to the next game. Now so I'll take my prediction as far as how it's going to play out. I think the series is going to be tied 2-2 going back to Oklahoma.
I agree.
I think Pacers win game 3 just to prevent the back-to-back, and then OKC wins game 4 to prevent also losing back-to-back, and then we're just going to seesaw, and I'm still going to go with the Pacers in 7. I'm not switching. I stand by it. I'll die on it. I'll live it, breathe it, eat it, sleep it, and I'm not going to say the other words because I'm trying to keep it clean, but you know what I mean. Expletive it out, and Pacers in 7, and I'll let you guys.
7. And I agree with you. Game 3 goes to Indiana. Game 4 goes to Oklahoma.
Florida Panthers are now up 1-0, but we know a lead in the NBA ain't safe.
Don't mean nothing.
Not safe for the NHL.
Don't mean nothing.
Thunder and
we got Stone-faced Drism.
Thunder and 6. Thunder in game 3. Pacers in 4. Thunder back-to-back in 5 and 6.
There's our prediction.
You don't think they want to win in their own city? No, you don't want to leave it up to chance going back just because you got home court. That don't mean you're gonna win game 7. So I think the momentum
of game 5 is gonna propel them into game 6.
All right, so that's brave. That's a brave. That's a bold move, Cotton.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
On that note, thank y'all for tuning in. Anybody got any shout outs they want to shout out?
Just another day in the neighborhood.
Shout out to the Outright Podcast. Like I said, y'all go check that out. The $1 million arm lost in 2 games in the College World Series. They didn't even. Hey, what happened? I guess the $1 million arm got a $999,000 discount. I guess, but hey, it is what it is.
That'll be all right.
It is what it is. But thank y'all for tuning in to another fantastic episode of Let Me Say This. I am the legend that never dies. We got Wreck-It Ralph, and we got the charismatic Dre Davis, Mr. Intuitive. And I don't know why I said that. I just wanted to say it. But thank you for tuning in, and we're done.